Today's episode is brought to you by the Daily Gardener Friday newsletter. You can sign up for the newsletter over at thedailygardener.org. Hi there, and welcome to The Daily Gardener, a podcast about garden history and literature. I'm your host, Jennifer Ebling, and today is April 4th. Today in garden history, we celebrate the birthday of Dorothea Lynde Dix, the Boston activist, writer, and school teacher. She was born on this day, April 4th, in 1802. As a young woman, Dorothea visited England, and she met the philanthropist and mental health reformer Samuel Tuke, the director of the York Retreat. Their patients tended the flower and vegetable gardens surrounding the buildings, and Samuel called his methods moral treatment, and his work inspired Dorothea to pursue new ways of treating mental illness back home in America. Dorothea championed the causes of the marginalized, especially the mentally ill. She successfully lobbied for the creation of mental asylums, and despite today's negative connotations, the word asylum was originally intended to be a place of safety and refuge. Dorothea's asylums were to be a complete departure from the punitive madhouses that had come before. Today, the Dorothea Dix Park in Raleigh, North Carolina, stands on the site of North Carolina's first mental health facility, Dorothea Dix Hospital, which existed for 160 years. Prior to that, the land was part of the Spring Hill Plantation, which was worked by hundreds of slaves for 150 years. Dorothea Dix Park is known for daffodils in spring and a field of sunflowers at the end of July. Dorothea Dix often included flower petals in letters that she wrote to her friends. In 1829, she wrote a book of floriography, or the language of flowers, and it was called The Garland of Flora. Dorothea wrote, "The rose is the flower and the handmaiden of love. The lily, her fair associate, is the emblem of beauty and purity." And today is also the birthday of Maya Angelou, the author, American poet, memoirist, and civil rights activist, was born on this day, April 4th, in 1928. Maya once wrote, "On late evenings, when quiet inhabits my garden, when grass sleeps and streets are only paths for silent mist, I seem to remember smiling." And today is also the birthday of James A. Duke, the American botanist and writer who was born on this day, April 4th, in 1929. James is remembered for his handbook of medicinal herbs and his best-selling book that came out in 1997 called The Green Pharmacy. James developed the Dr. Duke's phytochemical and ethnobotanical databases at the USDA. And he once quipped regarding dandelions, "If you can't beat them, eat them." And it was on this day, April 4th in 1944, that English and American bombs hit the Botanical Garden in Bucharest. The garden's herbarium lost 500,000 sheets of specimens, roughly 2/3 of their collection. Now, the origins of the Bucharest Botanical Garden date back to 1874. The garden found a champion in a 28-year-old Romanian botanist and naturalist named Dimitri Branza. Today, the garden is named in his honor. Dimitri came to Bucharest to be a professor at the Department of Natural Science at the University of Bucharest, and it was there that he created the botany department at the Natural Science Museum, only to see his entire plant collection destroyed by a fire 2 years later in 1884. But the fire was a gift, and it ignited a new passion for Dmitri, and that was the creation of the Botanical Garden, which opened in 1891. The garden's 42 acres are home to a museum, a greenhouse, formal gardens, wild spaces, lakes, ponds, and research buildings. And today the garden is a living part of the biology department at the University of Bucharest. It's time to grow that garden library with today's book, The Graphic Garden by Keith Williams. This very, very green-covered book came out in May of 2020, and it's the first monograph from landscape architect Keith Williams, and it features all of his projects to date. Now, Keith is one of the country's leading landscape architects, and he is a partner along with Mario Navira in their design firm called Navira Williams Design. And this truly groundbreaking landscape architecture firm is based in South Florida. And together, Mario and Keith have been designing fantastic outdoor spaces for over 2 decades. Now, one of the wonderful things about this particular book is that Keith shares with us the transformations, pictures of his gardens and his work from the beginning of the project all the way through to the end. And you can see how he looks at spaces and how he incorporates all these different elements into these monumental design projects. And there's a reason why he calls it the graphic garden. And that's because it's so visual. Keith is very generously sharing everything, all the pictures, all of the drawings and the details regarding his approach to designing gardens. So if you are a garden designer, this book is a must because you will learn from a true expert in garden design. Now, I have to say that when I first got this book, I was so blown away. It was way more than I anticipated. The level of detail is fantastic. You will learn about layering in gardens and how each layer contributes to the overall design of the garden. And the other thing that I want to quickly mention is I shared a great video of Keith and his partner Mario. They're in a video with Steele Marcoux of Veranda, and they're talking about garden design and their perspective and their approach to it, which is just so fascinating to watch. I learned a ton of little tips and perspectives on garden design just from watching that particular video. So that's in the Facebook group for the show. But this book is a gem, and since it's new and there weren't that many of them published, it is an investment, but it is so worth it. This book is 216 pages of the best of Keith Williams and his work in gardens. You can get a copy of The Graphic Garden by Keith Williams and support the show using the Amazon link in today's show notes for around $70. All right, we'll wrap up today's episode with a botanic spark that features the Canadian naturalist Charles Joseph Sariel. It was on this day, April 4th in 1938, that Charles wrote these words in his diary. For a few minutes this morning, I fumbled around my wildflower garden. And then he talks about the different plants that he saw. He wrote, little points, which will soon be bloodroots, cautious little down-covered stems and buds that will later become hepaticas, narrow leaves, the forerunners of spring beauty. And isn't that the truth? Well, that's it for today's show. Just remember that you have a standing invitation to join the free Facebook group for listeners of the show. The next time you're over at Facebook, just search for Daily Gardener Community, where you'd search for a friend and then request to join. And if you'd like more of The Daily Gardener, you can subscribe to the newsletter over at thedailygardener.org. And don't forget that you can also show your support for the show by using the Buy Me a Coffee link over at the website or in today's show notes. This is Jennifer Ebling. Thanks for listening to The Daily Gardener. And remember, for a happy, healthy life, garden every day. Hey there, Daily Gardeners. Really quick, Jennifer here. I just wanted to reach out and let you know about Podchaser. That is a place where you can find new podcasts, but you can also review podcasts. And this year, during the month of April, just like last April, they have launched their Reviews for Good campaign. And this is really important because every time you leave a review on Podchaser and then I reply to it, they will donate 25 cents for your review and then 25 cents for my reply to World Central Kitchen this year. That is the charity that they are donating to, and it is all going to help the Chefs for Ukraine efforts. It's an initiative aimed at providing meals to individuals and families fleeing from Ukraine. And so far, they have served 1 million meals to those in need. And so I am very excited to be part of this cause. So what I'm asking is that you leave a review for The Daily Gardener, even if you've already done so, even if you did it last year, it doesn't matter. They will still donate 25 cents for your review. And then I will do a reply. I will definitely take the time to do that. So I will reply to every single review if you would do me the honor of leaving a review for the show over at podchaser.com. And with your help, we will make this year the most impactful Reviews for Good yet. So write your review over at podchaser.com. Just search for The Daily Gardener. It's very easy to find there. Then click on review and leave a review. And then if you get a chance and you want to share that review, after you're done leaving it, you can share it on social media, the social media of your choice. Make sure to use the hashtag Reviews for Good if you get a chance, and let other people know that if they have a favorite podcast, they should definitely leave a review for that podcast so that we can help out World Central Kitchen. So easy to do, and so much good can come from it.